Okay, hello there, listeners. This is part 5 of the introduction slash opening to the podcast, and it's a direct continuation from the preview episode, so I recommend to listen to it. Okay, so we got all the way to 1948, and I gave like a short, a brief idea of what could the Palestinian population and the Zionite population in Israel think about the UN decision about splitting the land. And then I went a bit back and said that there was already a beginning of violence between those two groups before. And that's a very, I don't know if it's important, but it's people speak about it a lot, because if people start speaking about the conflict just like random people, Palestinians and Israelis, I think the main thing that they will speak about is who started it, who began with the violence. And I grew up in an Israeli society, and there was no sound, no voice that is allowed that said that the Zionite movement started it. Obviously, the Palestinians did. This is like the clear story in the Israeli mind. Yeah, and there is a few events of like rebels and attacks of Arabs upon Jewish settlements that took place before 1948 that is being discussed a lot in the Israeli stories about this time. And also the story said that when the UN said that the land is going to be split, so the Jewish population were very happy and celebrating it, and the Arab population declared war. That's the idea. The UN said we split it, and we, mean the Israeli population, were celebrating and happy and pleased, and the Arabs were starting a war. So they are the blamed for everything, and evil them. I don't believe in evil, you know. So that's not how I see things. I see just people that were afraid of losing their land to a whole bunch of a giant flow of immigrants from Europe. They see that as the continuation of colonialism, and they were afraid. But the people that they met were, I think, even more afraid, because they came from the Holocaust, which is a living horror movie, and they were terrifying from the idea of not be able to build this shelter for the Jewish people. So you see two group of people that are very scared, and into this situation evolve like the Arab countries around were not evolve, like they moved in the situation with their militaries and trying to conquer the land from all kind of different reasons. You know, there was like a struggle between Egypt and Iraq. They were struggling to see which will be the top leader of the Arabic society, and the Iraq people had the wish to bring oil through Haifa. Haifa is a northern bay in Israel, so they wanted to take control on that. The Jordanian king want to take control over the land, and all kind of different interests were evolved with this, and the final I can have a whole podcast about 1948, a few of them, but the final line is that the IDF, which was built up during this war, the War of Independence, as it called in the Israeli mindset, and the Nakba, as it called in the Palestinian mindset. So the IDF got built up and conquered almost all of Israel as we know it today, including both parts that were supposed to be part of Israel by the UN decisions, and both parts that supposed to be part of the Palestinian state, mostly the Galil, and this is where I'm living now. But I'm renting my land from a Daruz person that live here for like 8-10 generations, so I'm feeling quite fine with living here. I'm really renting it from like a native person. So yeah, so and this is not discussed a lot in the Israeli mindset. The fact that both the parts that were supposed to be the Jewish state and both the parts that were supposed to be the Palestinian state were conquered by the IDF in the hands of this new Zionite government, and the Palestinians, the ones that were afraid of the new Jewish state, they were afraid to be butchered. By the way, also because the Arabic countries were telling them about a lot of very scary stuff about the Jewish people, about their cruelty. I don't believe that the old Zionite people were very cruel. I don't believe that. I think they were just afraid and really eager to have their own state and willing to do some terrible, violent stuff in order to achieve this goal. But I don't think there was like evil, because I don't believe in evil, just like that. But anyway, many Arab people ran away or been forced to run away from their home. Different stories in different villages, but many refugees. They ran to Lebanon, to Syria, to Jordan, to Egypt, to all the Arab countries around. Some of them stayed inside Israel, and the ones that stayed are today known as the Israeli Arabs. They have Israeli identity. They can vote for the government. They can be elected. They have like full right. Yeah, the government give them maybe less money and less like rights, but it's at least officially they're equal citizen. It's a whole different discussion about the situation of the Israeli Arabs, but it's important to just, in order to understand, to see that in 1948 there is a group of Arab that been separate from what we call today Palestinians. The ones that stayed in Israel, they are the Israeli Arabs. Probably some of them identify themselves as Palestinians, but the states see them, the Israel states see them as Israeli Arabs. So the rest of them, the refugees that ran away to all the rest of the Arab countries, for years and years tried to fight Israel. Fight it through what we call terror activity, doing bombs and gun shooting and kidnapping and all kind of stuff like this. Their situation in the Arab countries was not very good. The neighbor Arab countries were not very happy to let them be citizens, and they remained refugees. Kind of a shitty situation for everyone. By the way, another fact that is not known a lot in the Israeli mindset story is that the UN sent a negotiator to try to make peace between those two new nations. Right in the beginning of it, what was his name? It was Lord. I forgot the name. Shame. Anyway, he was murdered by Jewish assistant. Yeah, he was murdered. This person that came to negotiate, because he wanted to give much land to the Palestinians. So the Jewish people, not official people from the government, but like underground armed people, murdered him. Benedict, Lord Benedict, that was his name. So in this way, Israel was founded as a state, and the Palestinians were founded as a nation of immigrants, and started their terror activity against Israel. slowly organized in different under different structures, Ashraf and Fatah, and then they unite. And long story. I will try to make it short. They fight mostly through Jordan in the beginning. Then in the end of the Jordan period of time, the Jordanian kingdom with Israel kicked them all out, chased them to Lebanon. Then they fight Israel from Lebanon. And then Israel was entering Lebanon and like chasing those terror organizations or military Palestinians organizations, chasing them away, destroying their military bases. And in the end, the Palestinian leadership was around. This is around the end of the 80s, I think. The Palestinian leadership was exiled to Tunis. And the dream of having a Palestinian country seems to be lost. Oh, by the way, I missed some important stuff, because in 1948, sorry, I'm going back a bit back. Israel conquered most of what is Israel now, but Egypt. Let's go first to Jordan. Jordan conquered everything that is called today the West Bank. Okay, it was under the control of Jordan from 1948 to 1967, and Egypt conquered what is now called the Gaza Strip. This is why the Gaza Strip count as like a different piece of land, because in 1948, when the IDF conquered all the land, the Gaza Strip was captured by Egypt. In 1967, it was conquered by Israel, and also everything that we call now the West Bank. It means the West Bank of the Jordan River around Jerusalem, Sumerian and Judea, in the Israeli mindset, was also conquered back. Well, not back. It was just conquered in 1967, but the people that were conquered with the land, the people in Gaza and the people in the West Bank, they did not get the same treatment like those Arabic people that stayed here in 1948. They did not get Israeli IDs, did not get rights to vote and be elected to the government. They stayed not as new Israelis, but as Palestinians that have basically no real rights, and used by the Israeli society as cheap working force. There we see some. We have some taste of slavery. When we look at the relationship between the early Israeli society and the early Palestinian society, because those people are being kept under military control of the IDF and have no real ability to develop their society, and they kind of forced to work as cheap workers in the Israeli, mostly construction stuff. Okay, so we got all the way to 1967, right, when the West Bank and Gaza was reconquered by Israel, and now we can go back to the 80s, where the end of the 80s, when the Palestinian exile leadership is more exile into Tunis, which is like northern Africa. It's quite far away, and now we're gonna get to the 90s, but it's gonna be another part. So another part is coming up.